All right, tonight's episode is brought to you by Dorming Workshop. We have Mark Morris joining us tonight for our episode, and so stay tuned. In the next minute or so, we'll have Mark joining us, and it'll be a great show. So check out Dormy's Workshop head covers. Great product.
We're three brothers from a small town in the east coast of Canada.
Golf has been in our blood since Caddyshack was at the drive-in.
We've dedicated our lives to this game.
Ride free with them high falcons in the sun. Ride the pebble on down, not over 55 up. In the motor song, back over at home. In the AM, radar love's coming on strong. It's getting you along. It's going in and gone. Easy, oh, won't you take me in? The sun of that old-fashioned California sin. Oh, there's the rules. I don't make them. Be the dice. Watch me shake them. If I give myself to you, well, you gotta give yourself to me. There's the rules.
Hey, welcome back to the Blue Line Hockey Club, folks. We've got another exciting episode of the Blue Line Hockey Club. We've got all the usual suspects sitting in the house with us tonight. We have our producer, Patrick Uncle Lardy Sullivan. What's up, Patrick?
Aloha.
And our local nerd on staff, our IT guy, Robbie Pete Peters. What's up, Pete?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Robbie's been working overtime tonight. And your host of the Blue Line Hockey Club tonight, Mark the Doctor Morley.
Oh, doctor.
And boys, we have Mr. 300 with us tonight. Very special guest, a friend of the program. Glad to have him on. We've been communicating back and forth with him for a number of months now, so it's great to have him on the podcast tonight. And we want to welcome Mark Morris to the show. How are you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing great, thanks.
How's the weather up there, Mark? You're freezing up there in Messina, New York?
Oh, it's pretty chilly. A couple of the cars didn't start the other day, so that was fun. Going out and then having to jump them and calling AAA, that's always fun.
Yeah, I'm not having any of those problems down here in South Florida. It's actually like 88 today, so I feel for you up there. You getting on the ice? You getting on the ice with your grandkids? Yeah, right. People in Texas are driving all over the place.
Yeah.
That's your ice time these days with the grandkids?
It's been fun. Find a little pond hockey is always fun.
Nice.
Yeah. That's probably the one thing I miss about. I'm in Raleigh. Me and Rob are in Raleigh. Mark's in South Florida there near the Florida Panthers. I miss the old pond hockey, but like I was telling you earlier, I'm 40. I'm too old for that stuff.
Well, it's always nice when you're out there, no referees, and nobody tell you where to go or what to do. And it's pretty peaceful and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I never was good at taking direction.
How are we doing for connection? What's that again?
Go ahead, Pete.
Rob said he was never good at taking direction.
I was never good at taking direction.
How are you doing, Mark? You hear us all right? A little technical difficulties there, maybe?
Might be like delay
There's
there.
a little bit of static, but
A little static.
Oh, am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you're kind of coming in and out, but we can hear you.
You sound like you're on the St. Lawrence River right now.
Oh, yeah.
Technically, I think he is.
Reception is always a little sketchy up here.
They didn't get the fiber optics up there yet?
So we got, what was some of the, we wanted to get you on.
No, he says.
No, little delay there.
Yeah.
We wanted to get you on, Coach, and have you kind of talk about the new changing of the sword in Pittsburgh. I know you're good friends with Ron Hextall and Burke there, and what you have to say about them taking over in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's going to be a spotlight on those guys, but what do you think about them taking over?
You know, I texted Ron and I just said, I think there's that's a great combination. Those guys, they think a lot alike, and they're no nonsense type of guys. I think there's going to be great chemistry, and you know, I think they'll be able to lean on one another quite a bit. Having worked in Vancouver and watched Brian up close and personal, you know, his personality and his hockey smarts, and he's got a great way with people. He really does. Despite all his rough appearance, he's got a big heart, and he's extremely knowledgeable about the game. And, you know, having worked with Ron, I know how strong-willed he is, and you know, he's also a guy that, you know, although he doesn't show a lot of emotion, he's a guy that's a real competitor. So between those two guys, I think they'll be great for one another, because you know, you'll see if there's any slackers, they'll quickly get turned around. But they're also really good people.
Coach, what do you think Mario Lemieux was looking for? You know, what are the answers he's trying to get with the Ron Hextall and a Brian Burke?
You know, I can't speak for Mario, but if you look at, you know, Brian Burke did an interview recently, and he just talked about, you know, the Pittsburgh organization is run extremely well. They don't cut corners. They are first-class operation, and you know, they realize what a competitor Ron Hextall was, being from the same neck of the woods and watching his career, and then being there for sure that that piqued their interest. Another organization NHL respectful, and as I alluded to, you know, Brian's no stranger to you know, things in the East and around the NHL. He's got a wealth of experience, so I have to believe that you know, those guys will be really good for one another, and they'll be unified in their efforts. That's for darn sure, because they're not going to tiptoe around, and they've got a lot to work with there. It's a tremendous amount of talent, and they got to look toward the future. And I'm sure that you know, when Mario saw available, you know, it'll be a great con.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Pittsburgh for a while now on the show, and I think one of the things that, you know, I've talked about a lot is, you know, when are they going to mix it up? You know, they've had similar. They got rid of our boy Kessel, the hot dog.
Hot dogs.
But I mean, how long is Crosby going to be there? Malkin, are they going to split them up? Are they going to try to rebuild? You know, what's the next step for them? You know, is this the first step in some kind of change in Pittsburgh to get them back to a cup, and you know, maybe get some mix it up a little bit and change things up? The last few years hasn't really been working out for them, so maybe this is something that they see the future of the organization. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I can only go on what I hear, and listen to XM radio quite a bit, and you know, some of the hockey people out there tend to think that you know, they may be looking down the road. They still believe that Sid is young enough that perhaps he could bring along another young crew, and they've got to look to develop, their future. But thing that I know about Ron is that we kind of did that with the Kings organization, and he was very patient. And it appears as though he was doing the same thing when he was in Philadelphia. I don't think they were willing to be as patient as he would have been, but it's starting to pay some dividends for them now in Philadelphia. But I think that they'll have a good game plan, and if they surround Sydney with the right people, I don't know what's going to happen with Malkin and Letang and guys like that, and Fleury still doing well out there. They kind of lost that core completely that they had when they were winning. Guys got older, and the climate changes as contracts, and you look ahead toward trying to manage what you got to work with financially. So it's always good to have an influx of young players coming through that you're developing, and that will ensure you long-term success if you do it the right way. And I think that Ron certainly knows all about that.
Yeah, I did actually hear a rumor, if Robin Lehner is going to take over out in Vegas, that Pittsburgh might be looking to get the Flower back in Pittsburgh, because they need to kind of get some goaltending there. The goaltending hasn't been strong. But Mark, with you, all your experience in the AHL and the NHL and coaching, what's your take? I know you don't know 100% or just all the rumors, but what would you say why Jim Rutherford stepped down? Do you think that was his decision, or do you think it was a collective decision that we got to move forward? We got to try something different here, because like Mark just said, we talk about it all the time. Something's got to change.
Well, I can only surmise like everybody else, but
Right.
Again, listen to the talk, the people talking. I'm listening to NHL. I played with Jimmy Rutherford my first year in the American Hockey League. I got to know him a little bit. He's 71 years old. So, perhaps he felt, it was his time, and the part perhaps he was being pressured from management to maybe he didn't want to make it. I don't know. I can only surmise, just like everybody else. And he did a tremendous job. Jimmy's a great guy. He certainly understands the business and has championships to back up his all his accolades. So
for sure.
I found it strange, just like everybody else, but at the same time, kudos to him for being able to have that choice. Many coaches and GMs don't have that ability to walk away and do it on their own terms. But he did a great thing for the organization while he was there, and I'm sure that they won't soon forget the impact that he had on the organization.
We brought up Ron. You're friends with Ron Francis out in Seattle. What do you think, switching gears here, going out to Seattle, what do you think about the expansion draft coming up and what Ron Francis is going to do out there in Seattle? Are you excited?
I'm excited for him and Ricky Olchuk. I know those two guys, class acts. They're tremendous people. You can't find a nicer person and a more credible guy than Ron Francis. I'm sure that he's going to do great things for that organization. And, he's starting with a clean slate. Certainly Vegas set a high bar, and expectations will be high, but based on what I'm seeing as far as their hires and, the newness of the organization, Hopefully they'll have early success just the way that Vegas did. And, he's got a keen eye for talent. He's another guy that, he's patient and he's going to go with people that he trusts, and he wants to make sure that he makes his mark there in a brand new facility, and surround himself with people that he knows and trusts. And no doubt he'll put a quality product on the ice, and it'll be important for him to grab the right personalities and bring in a lot of character and skill and talent. It takes all those things to have success, and hopefully someone's able to bring in to the fold will give him that opportunity to get off on the right foot.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, the way Vegas did it, I think there's going to be a little bit more awareness on the other teams of how they protect their players, because of the way things went down with Vegas and how they kind of manipulated a little bit to get certain players. And, so they kind of showed the cards of how this thing works back when Vegas did their expansion draft. So it should be interesting to see how the teams protect players, how they make moves to, this season to, keep the guys they want to keep in the next expansion draft here coming up this year, and how Seattle will be able to actually get the players that they kind of are looking for. I mean, we see it all the time with like Billy Guerin up in Minnesota, bringing in Pittsburgh guys that he knows, and we've seen it from other GMs too, bringing in players from organizations that they've worked with in the past. They know their work ethic. They know them off the ice, the locker room, what they're like. It's just not watching tape of them playing, stuff like that. So, maybe Ron Francis is looking for some players like you talked about that he knows, character guys, that are going to bring in good locker room presence. Also, be good players on the ice.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I'll just jump in on that too. Stevie Y is another one that you can add to that list in Detroit. I think we're still waiting to see the fruit on that, on his efforts there, but
Big time.
I put him in that bucket as well. Joe Sakic in Colorado. I mean, you can see the team he's assembled right now. They're contenders.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah,
It's so important to find the right people. You really do have to find the right people. Internal leadership in the locker room, having the right veterans, and guys that are real good people. By sheer numbers of quality people that you have inside that locker room, it can pay dividends in a big way. And you mentioned that Colorado, they did a tremendous job. They struggled early on out there, and then they started to catch on, and McKinnon came into his own, and a lot of other good players are out there. Cars out there, they're doing some pretty special things, and you can see the work that Stevie Yzerman did. That he left behind in Tampa, and that paid off for them, and then always in Detroit, and he's another builder. To sustain success for a long haul takes some patience, and I'm sure that much like George McPhee did in Vegas, I'm sure that Ron Francis and Rick Volchuk have done their homework, trying to find those key guys that are going to influence and impact their team.
Yeah,
and they're going to wait until they choose the right coach for that team too. And that's there'll be some people that Ron knows that are out there that are real quality coaches, and no doubt that'll impact the team as well.
Pretty good coach like yourself, Coach. What do you think about Jimmy Howard talking about Detroit retiring? What do you think about him? Do you think he's got a couple more years in him, or do you think it was a good call for him to retire?
I just can't say enough about Jimmy Howard. I remember Jimmy Howard. He used to play hockey with my son Michael, and to see the growth and development of that man and the career he's had makes all the North Country people proud. He worked real hard and had a great college career, and then he backboned the Red Wings there in net, and it was great to see him win a Stanley Cup as well. But anytime you see those North Country guys doing well, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised somebody didn't pick him up for a backup or something. There's a lot of bargain shopping that happens now that we're seeing in the NHL, like Jumbo Joe Thornton, playing for, basically entry salary. Chara left the Bruins. These guys like Bogosian going up to Toronto towards the end of their careers, but the teams are picking them up at low salary cap levels. I think that's kind of like something new that we're seeing some of these teams doing, where some of the younger guys are making a lot of the money, and the guys that used to make a lot of money in the end of their career are now settling for $800,000 a year. I see a lot of that shit happening. Just what do you think about that, Coach? That's good for the locker room and stuff like that?
I think so. It's almost like having a coach in the locker room when you've got that type of experience. They can help to calm people down and speak up when they need to speak up. I don't think there's enough of that veteran leadership. You can never have enough of it. And again, it comes down to having good people, and the goaltending position is especially important. And now with the condensed schedule, you have to have guys that can step in and play. If you're playing a schedule much like an American Hockey League schedule where you got a ton of games in a short amount of time, you can't ride the same guy in net every night. You got to have somebody else that can play in there, and I think you're right on. Some of those guys that have the ability to stick around and perhaps play in a kind of a backup role, but still have the goods to produce when they're called upon, especially in the late going. You never know if somebody comes up lame or comes up with an injury. You've got experience in the pipes, and good goaltending win you a lot of hockey games.
Yeah, man. That's the thing with this COVID shit now. It's like, we're watching the Wild Kings game last night, and you're looking at the Wild roster like, who the fuck are these guys?
Four players, one at least played his first NHL game last night. But there were four guys that were, pull up from the taxi squads. What they're calling now.
It didn't fare too well for them last night either. I think they lost 4-0 to the Kings. But we're seeing this like
defensemen too, right?
Yeah.
And they had, a lot of their defensemen are out, but that's a goalie situation, where teams are coming back from a COVID issue, because they came back 2 weeks of a break, and, they didn't come back with their full team. It's not like they waited for everybody to get off the COVID list and all right, we're ready to play. They're still 5 guys short of their roster, plus their whatever injuries they have at that time. So it makes it tricky for, for these teams when they're coming out of that shit to, put a W on the board, with some guys that have never played together, their first NHL game. So it's definitely a very weird situation. A lot of teams have been in this COVID situation this season so far. Like Pat said earlier before we started the show, they weren't even going to have makeup games, but now because there's so many games that were missed, they have to make them up.
So you got Buffalo, New Jersey, and Minnesota coming out of COVID protocol. So, those guys are way behind in games right now. And right now, I think Vancouver has 19 games played, and I think the least team has 10 games played. So there's a 9-game difference between some of the teams that have played.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to do. And, the NHL the AHL isn't playing right now, so it's a little easier to have that taxi squad. But, Mark, you must be, this in and out, like, as a AHL coach, like, getting a crew of guys and winning games, and then the NHL team wants your 3 best players. It must be hard. Like, screw you. Call them up in a couple games. Call them up in 2 weeks.
Well, it's tough on the American leaguers, trying to maintain the continuity that you'd like to have, but that's what you're there for. And, if those guys are, if they're close enough that they are a good, solid third or fourth line player, that's great. If they're losing their top 6 guys, then, that's a lot to ask of an American leaguer to step in and produce like a proven scorer or a guy that plays a real important role on the team. I mean, try to consider if you lose Ovechkin or a guy of that caliber, a Sidney Crosby, or if those guys are out of the lineup, that could really change some things. But that's the purpose of the American Hockey League, is to prepare those guys so that they can make that transition. And it's a bit of a process. It takes time and it takes patience. And what's strange though is a lot of those guys that when they get called up right away, they usually score. It's the most bizarre thing. They maybe there's heightened awareness, I don't know, but a lot of those guys have early success. And sometimes that's a bit of a misnomer to expect those guys to do that every night, but it's amazing how many guys have early success and pop their first goal in like their first game or their first shift, and it kind of gets that out of the way for them, so that maybe when they're more of a regular player, that they can step in and believe that they belong.
And then they get shipped back down to the A and have to ride the bus.
Yeah, then they're too good to play for you. They're not going to listen.
Yeah, right. It's a tough battle. Well,
always dealing with those egos, those
yeah, right.
Egos.
That's the hardest part of coaching.
Hockey egos too. It's got to be the toughest part of coaching, with those hockey egos.
Well, it's part of the game. It's important to have one. You just you have a lot of good teammates around you to keep those egos in line. That's why it's so much fun to be around the locker room when you knock a guy down a peg here and there when it's necessary. That's where good leadership comes into play, and hard to put a price tag on that.
I think there was like, I don't know, a week ago or so that Torts sat Laine. Was it Patrick Laine that he sat for the third period? And I don't really know why. They said it was because of the way he disrespected some players on the bench or something.
Assistant coach.
Coaching staff.
Yeah. So I like that kind of shit, Sit your ass down there and wait for the next
game. Didn't
he?
Right.
What did he say?
Yeah, it's good for him.
He learned pretty quick, didn't he?
Oh, right. Snapping right.
Need more of that shit.
Wow.
Definitely.
Man, Torts doesn't. You don't pull any punches with him. He doesn't hesitate to, call the guy's bluff and put him in his place. And you know what? The kid he dropped his gloves there not too long after that, and
he did.
He must have sent a pretty good message, and everybody else perks up on the bench too after coach has to go down that path. It's not fun having to do it, because you're in for a couple of real hard conversations, but it's part of the business, and he's obviously not afraid to go there if he has to.
Yeah, right.
Coach, we had Nick Foligno, the captain of Columbus, on, and he told us that he thinks that Torts likes animals more than humans.
Oh, man.
Yeah. If you're going to bench one of your better players, though.
If you can play for him. Yeah. I remember a story about who was it? Glenn Hall. Somebody asked him one day how he liked playing for Scotty Bowman. He says, "I love playing for Scotty." He says, "All he ever wanted was everything you had."
No big deal.
That's great. Mark, another thing we wanted to touch with you on is just the coaching getting shuffled around in the NHL. We see it a lot, especially the last year or two. Just players or coaches, getting fired on one NHL team and getting picked up 3 weeks later on another NHL team. What do you think about that? Is it just chemistry they're looking for, or do they just want someone with experience, or a few coaches get pulled up from the NCAA or AHL, but it seems to me, anyways, they get shuffled around.
Yeah, how can I get into that cycle?
I don't know. I've joked about this, but I don't know how many of those guys look like they're having a great time. There's a lot of pressure in those jobs. I don't know too many of those guys that are up there yucking it up, but it's like anything else in business. When your people are around and they're in managerial positions, it probably enhances your chances, because it's about who you know, and you never know in pro hockey or pro sport when you're people that that respect you are going to see value in what you bring, and sometimes your act just grows old. And it's hard to stay in the same place for a long time. It is. It's really difficult to stay in one place, because when you've got the same players and they're making a heck of a lot more money than the coach, chances are the coach is going down the road. Management understands that. Management understands that part. It's a business, and if you can get through 3-4 years, that's tremendous. Barry Trotz is one of the few guys, that seems to be, able to stay for a long period of time. And, I look around the league, and Bruce Cassidy's done a great job in Boston, and he seems to be, he's not on thin ice. It's a hard job trying to keep those guys all in order, and when your leaders are singing your tune and they're all in, man, it makes your coaching staff's job that much easier. So good internal leadership will go a long way toward having a coach's back. I mean, it looks as though even though Torch is not afraid to push those buttons, he knows Yarmo's right there and supports him.
Right.
And
you can do it when you have a general manager that supports that.
So, Coach, you mentioned a couple of times the business, right? It's a business, the NHL. What's the difference? You were at both levels, obviously coaching in the NCAA and then in the pro level. How much did it change when you went from a college team to becoming a business and coaching on that level?
I think once you realize how many hockey minds and hockey people are around, you're just you're mindful to say and do the right thing a lot more. I think I've said this in the past, and the pro game is a lot more short term if you're not getting the job done. So and college is getting a little bit more cutthroat now too, but I really believe that when you're amongst the wolves, it, and there's a certain amount of respect among the coaches that have been in the business before to realize that there's pressure, and as long as you're doing the right things and you're behaving properly and treating people well, people will leave you alone. But
Yeah.
it doesn't take much for somebody to step out of line and disrespect somebody, and all of a sudden the guy is out the door. And if you can't keep your best players happy at the pro level, then you're not going to last very long.
Right.
Like you said, they're getting paid a lot more
I
than
don't
the
know if I
coaches.
answered your question.
Yeah.
No, I mean it makes a lot of sense. Once it's about winning.
But
These-
it is
these-
it's about results, and you're hired to do a job, and whether that's to win hockey games at the NHL level or to produce guys that are ready to play. If your goalie's stopping the puck and you're a goalie coach,
Doing
you're
pretty
probably
good.
going to have a job for a while. If he's having a tough time, you might be looking for work.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it is.
And you got a guy
business, it looks pretty glamorous. It looks pretty glamorous on the outside, but it's a lot like the circus. You drop your gear off late at night so it can dry. You pile off the buses or planes, and you come in. You have your skate. You go take a nap or get ready for the game, and after on to the next city. And you're doing that for playing hockey 100 times a season. And
Right.
it takes a strong group and a special bunch of people to sustain success.
So Mark, you see this? You see this picture right here? Mark, you see that picture right there on the screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Tell us about that. What was that like, raising that thing?
It happened. It happened. It was very surreal, but it happened because Kim Dillabaugh, who's now the Philadelphia goalie coach, he was like a celebration, and we were kind of toward the tail. Everybody had their time with it, and he handed it to me, and he said, "Let me take your picture." And so I hoisted it over my head, and he snapped a shot, and that's how it happened. And a little bit after that, Dean Lombardi was standing over on the bench, and Dean wasn't much for giving too many compliments, and he kind of pulled me in close and hugged me tight, and he said something pretty nice to me, and I thought to myself, holy smokes, it only took a Stanley Cup to get a vote of confidence.
Attaboy.
And
When did the couple do that?
2012. And it was even more exciting watching the guys celebrating. It seemed like an out-of-body experience watching those guys play, and then thinking, holy smokes, this is really going to happen. And it did.
Nice.
Looking at that picture, Coach, I see Yager right in front of you. That guy's still playing right now. What is
It's his birthday today. 49, I think. Yeah.
Is that amazing or what?
What picture are you looking at right now?
Oh, hold on. We'll put it back up.
Oh, yeah.
Yager.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He was always at the rink early and working on stuff. He was an amazing guy to work out. Like, I remember standing out in the hallway watching him. He had his on. He had a pair of gym shorts and a T-shirt, and he was flicking 8-pound medicine ball with his stick against the cinder blocks. And I thought,
Wow.
what the hell are you doing? And he's
Working the wrists
working
out.
on his strength, and he used a big long stick, and now for the top, same thing. But he was always doing extra stuff. He was so focused on making himself better, and he kind of took Huberdeau and Barkoff under his wing. And I remember they made him a line, and he brought those guys. He was just showing them how to cycle and how to use their body, and you could not get the puck off him. He had the big long stick, and he'd stick out his rear end, not get to the
Create
puck.
space.
But man, was he all that over the top, and that's exactly the stuff he was working on out in the hallway. You know, just working on a strong stick and his balance. Can you imagine trying to flick an 8-pound med ball off the wall with a hockey stick? That'd
No.
be like pushing a bowling ball around.
Yeah.
So, Coach, what teams have you been able to watch so far this year? Sorry. What team? We've been watching a little hockey since it's come back, and no fans in the stands. But what teams have you enjoyed watching this season so far? What teams do you think that are probably going to go to the playoffs and possibly run for the cup?
We're obviously watching a lot of Toronto and Zach Bogosian because he's a local, and at the same time, I grew up a Montreal Canadiens fan, and so seeing those two teams play each other, and kudos to Ottawa for sneaking out a couple wins there the other day, but the Canadian division's been really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
We haven't seen those Canadian teams play that much, and I watch as much as I can, and the odd time you see a player that you had, or Tina for, I guess, down in Charlotte diving for a puck the other day, and he's playing on the line. We had Chiefs, but there's a number of guys that are still kicking around. Nick Delorier's dropping the gloves and fighting all the heavyweights, and we had him in Manchester. I actually helped turn him into a left wing. He was a defenseman for us, and I remember Jack Ferrara said I asked Nick if he could play in an exhibition game as a forward because we had a bunch of ECHL guys called up, and I needed a regular defenseman to play some forward, and I stuck him in up front, and he scored 4 goals up against Portland. and I asked Jack, I said, can I keep him there? So he called me Lombardi. He said, sure. So we turned him into a left wing. And he's done really well. He had a good career there in Montreal, and now he's dropping the gloves for who the heck's he playing? He's playing out in Anaheim. So watching those guys live out their dreams, that's the best part of coaching.
Nice. Good story. He probably owes you some. He probably should give you some of his salary from turning him in from a defenseman to a left wing.
At least it's per diem.
You know what? It'd be interesting if somebody asked him how he became a left wing. He didn't even know.
That's funny. It's great.
Some of these guys, they're so innocent when they come through the door, and you wonder what they remember. I stay in touch from time to time with Brian Boyle, and he's, I always love to talk to those guys because they knew me as a college coach or knew of me, and then having those guys and watching them turn into NHLers, Peter Harold and him and guys like that, it's pretty cool.
Nice.
They could probably got there with any coach, but they came through our system, and they tried to turn Brian Boyle into a defenseman, and that was never going to happen. And so after his first season, I remember having a battle with Dean on that one and trying to get him. Hey, this guy's great in front of the net. You know, he's 6'7" and he's got a great stick. Let's put him in front of the net.
Yeah.
And we had a great power play with Matt Molson, and Teddy Purcell, and Peter Harold, and Marty Murray, and Brian. He made it all go. That's the
nice.
Part when you see grow their games and gain that confidence.
Yeah, we got a nice outdoor game coming this weekend, Saturday and Sunday out in Lake Tahoe. That should be pretty cool.
Didn't know a lot about the defensive end, so what's that?
I was saying we got some pretty cool outdoor hockey coming this weekend. We got the Lake Tahoe.
What's the question?
Two games in Lake Tahoe this weekend. Being a North Country guy, you must like the outdoor games. I don't know if you heard me on that one.
Well, I remember Bruce Crowder and his son ran a really good one in Lake Winnipesaukee up in Meredith. And I think at one point he said they had 77 teams and they had to turn a bunch away. And they were sitting on bales of hay and kicking an 18-pack down, sliding across the ice. People
Nice.
had bonfires going. It was great.
Yeah,
Nice.
gotta love that shit. Bringing it back to the roots of hockey for sure.
That's the fun part.
Coach, we got a question from one of our listeners.
Yeah.
I'll just pass this on. So apparently you got a birthday coming up. So happy birthday to you. But as you look back over your career, from your perspective, what are some of the relevant changes that you want to see in hockey during the next decade?
Oh boy, you know what? I just off the top of my head, there's been a few scraps lately, and it actually has really heated up the games. I found it really entertaining, and I don't like to see guys with stage fighting, but honestly, the self-policing that goes on out there, it's not all that bad. I think it keeps it. It adds a little spice to the game. And, I marvel at McDavid. I text Conroy the other night in mid-game, and I said, "Anybody think about trying to push him like to his backhand? Like everybody's backing up, and he's coming like Mach 1 or 10
Right
down on the middle of the ice." And I said, "Why don't you just form a line and kind of push him to his backhand?" I said, the speed of the game is incredible. I think that's great, but the playmaking, I think it's just getting better and better. Some of these things are almost indefensible, and I'd love to see that part continue to grow. There's so much skill development that's going on away from the game right now. And I think that it's starting to show. It's the power play, puck movement, and the things guys are trying are just incredible. I think that's great. I just remember the way it was as a player, and it was. I mean, you had to skate twice as hard to go half as far, and you always had a stick on you. And people were hacking and whacking and chopping your legs out, and used a lot of stick work. I'd still like to see. More body checks, but even though I talked about, I like the physicality of the fighting. I don't like to. If somebody gets knocked on their keister and it's a good, solid, clean check, you shouldn't have to fight somebody over it. I think that part of the game has to get clean. If it's a situation where you're an idiot, by all grab them and You know,
The self-policing is definitely
watching the young and
Yeah.
how they're feeling and going into competition.
Yeah,
What was that?
I think we're. Sorry.
It's still a delay.
There's a delay. Sorry, Coach.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say that the self-policing is definitely a missing part of the game. Everybody here is definitely a component of that. You know, we've definitely seen some plays that in the past you would definitely have to answer to, and you know, it's just they're going unanswered. So
Yeah.
we would agree with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
Coach, we had a lot of fun talking to you tonight. You had fun with us on the Blue Line Hockey Club
I
tonight?
don't like the dirty stuff, but you know, a good hip check, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's been good.
The delay has killed me on that. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I was just saying, Coach, did you have some fun talking to the Blue Liners tonight?
I
It's
wish my
been,
reception.
yeah, you must be getting some of that North Country weather up there.
I have. It's been good.
Well, great.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on.
The minus.
Minus 10. I got your hoodie on. You look like
Well,
you're, you know.
I appreciate you having me on, and you guys do a great job. So keep up the good work.
Well, we're gonna have you on plenty more times. So
Yeah, we'll have you back if you'll come.
We'll get this connection figured out, and we'll have you back on. We enjoy you coming on.
All right. Well, have a good one, man.
All right, Coach.
All
Thanks
right,
a lot.
Coach.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right, tonight's episode with Mark Morris was a fun one, and you're gonna hear a little bit from our sponsor Dormy now, and then we'll talk a little bit about the NHL after the short commercial break.
We're three brothers from a small town in the east coast of Canada.
Golf has been in our blood since Caddyshack was at the drive-in.
We've dedicated our lives to this game.
Ride free with them high falcons in the sun. Ride the devil on down. I don't 55 up in the motor song. Go burn home in the AM radar. Love is coming on strong. It's getting you along. It's going in and gone. Easy, won't you take me in? Some of that old-fashioned California sin. Oh, there's the rules. I don't make them. Read the dice. Watch me shake them. If I give myself to you, well, you gotta give yourself to me. There's the rules.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Blue Line Hockey Club, folks. We just had Mark Morris sitting in with us tonight. Great to talk to him. He's Mr. 300, won 300 games in the NCAA as well as 300 games in the pro level at the AHL and the NHL level. One of the most winning coaches of all time. So it's great to have him on the show. He's also a friend of the program that we refer to quite often to get some inside scoop on what's going on throughout the league. So it's kind of cool. Wish we had some better reception for him tonight. But next time we'll make sure we're on point with that and get him on again for sure. All right, boys. Well, we got a little bit of. I was trying to touch base with Coach on this before he left, but his delay was all fucked up. But we have the Lake Tahoe game. Looks pretty sweet right here. We got the Avalanche and the Vegas is going to be a huge game. Two awesome teams, possibly two of the best teams in the league, and then you have the Bruins and the Flyers in another dominant game. Because the Flyers are a pretty good team these days. So Saturday and Sunday, 3:00, great games out in Lake Tahoe. Pat, you said it's on like the 18th green of this golf course here. What a great setting there with the mountains in the background.
Yeah, it's at the Edgewood, Lake Tahoe Edgewood Golf Resort. Right here is the picture. I guess the guy, I can't think of his name right now, but they've been looking for an outdoor game to be, somewhere with a great background. They weren't really looking for fans to be at the outdoor game this year because of the COVID, obviously. But once they came to the 18th green there and saw the view, they said that was it. Let's put it right there. I guess it's 50 feet from the water, as you can see right there. And what a great spot this weekend. I'm excited. We're hoping to get Charlie McAvoy to come on maybe that Saturday night while he's out there and talk to us a little bit. Give us a little insight on the ice and what's going on. But yeah, we got the Winter Classic this weekend. Big time for NHL. We're pretty excited. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on Mark Morris coming on the podcast. He's instrumental to our podcast. We love him coming on. Hopefully next time we can get him on and have better reception. It kind of sucked that I think he's sitting in a basement or bunker in upstate New York, and it's like a snowstorm there. But yeah, outdoor game this weekend.
Yeah, so that'd be fun to watch, and two great games, to go along with that venue. So should be some good hockey for us, NBC. Another topic this week we can touch on is McDavid hitting 500 points in 400 games. Huge landmark for him this week. So
yeah.
I mean, how good is he?
I mean, he's going to become the 20th player to score 500 points in 400 games or fewer. If he gets it tonight, which he probably will, and he'll tie Crosby for the 8th fastest. So just put this in perspective with the great one. Wayne Gretzky is the first, reaching 500 points in 234 games. These guys are, getting 500 points in 400 games, double what
unbelievable.
Double what Gretzky's doing. But yeah, I mean, Crosby's up there. McDavid, Ovechkin got 500 points in 373 games. McDavid right now leads the NHL with 30 points. He's got 21 assists, 9 goals, 17 games. I mean, every year he's putting up points. I think he gets at least last year when the season ended, he had 97 points. Obviously, he would have had 100, but that would have been 4 consecutive years that McDavid got 100 points. And it's just, he's a phenomenal player. He's just one of the top players that will be in the league for a while. Him and Austin Matthews, I consider McDavid to be better than Matthews. But yeah, huge news.
Matthews is on fire right now.
Yeah.
13-game point streak.
Yeah. So huge.
A lot of young talent.
There's no denying McDavid's success, right? He's the best player in the league.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to throw out to you guys is, would you give up individual accolades to have more team success?
Like trade him and get like 5 or 6 other players?
No, I'm saying does McDavid need to be the best, the most goals and, never make playoffs? Would you give up your own, personally? Would you give up your own individual success
personally
to get a cup?
Yeah. I mean, I would rather not score a goal my whole career and win the Stanley Cup.
It's something I don't understand. Like everybody, for the lack of better words, blows him on the regular. And, the guy has been in playoffs twice.
Yeah. I personally, yes, like I said, I would rather get, 20 points, but hoist the Stanley Cup. I mean, that's the ultimate.
That's the dream, man. That's the dream. Not being the points leader is great, but, everybody wants to hoist that cup.
Yeah, for sure.
He's going to – I feel like he's going to have to leave Edmonton to actually win a Stanley Cup. I don't believe it's going to happen in Edmonton.
They'll have to trade a franchise for him. Edmonton would be stupid to get rid of him.
Well, they need to figure something out because they can't get past – they can barely get into playoffs. let alone make it into 3 or 4 round the finals.
Well, they have
I know.
Draisaitl too. I mean, Draisaitl is like, not too far off of.
Yeah, they're
David.
1 and 2, but again, what good is having 1 and 2 points in the league when you don't even get to play for the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I thought Edmonton and Calgary were going to do much better this year. They're both sitting. Edmonton's in 4th, and then Calgary's in 5th. They're in the Scotia North. I mean, Edmonton's only +2 on the differential. And putting the pucks in the net, they're 9-8 record. I don't know what's going on up there. I have to figure something out. But I thought Calgary was going to be doing much better than they are.
I'll tell you what, right now, out of everybody, Tampa is, to me, again, Tampa is the one that you need to watch. They're +22.
I see
which
that.
means they're not only beating their teams, they're kicking the shit out of those teams.
Highest differential in the league right now, yeah.
Put
Yeah,
Buffalo back in that, man.
Tampa and Toronto in the Stanley Cup, and might have to say Toronto is going to win the cup this year right now.
You've got points leader is right now, 1 is McDavid at 30, Draisaitl is 2. But when you switch over to standings, Edmonton is 4th. They've lost 8 games. So how are you putting up? I mean, that's a goaltending deal, right? You're putting up that many points, and they're +2. So they're letting in more.
Draisaitl's got a goal tonight too already.
They're upside down in Edmonton. I'm sorry. So, something's going to have to change for a McDavid to have a Stanley Cup attempt.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Well, I just hope that this COVID shit doesn't keep plaguing the league as we go forward. As obviously taking 2 weeks and not playing and then coming back with fucking, like in Minnesota last night, they had 4 defensemen out that played man down, played power play. I mean, it just fucks up everything as far as their game plan. So I mean, it's a tough situation. You lose 2 points, which is every point is crucial this year with only half the game. So I think that's going to be tough for the teams that go into COVID protocol to come back and actually be able to gain those points back when they're not playing with their best players, not playing with their goalie, stuff like that. So these games are being rescheduled, I think, Pat, right?
Yeah, so that's one other topic I wanted to just brush on. That initially the NHL was, when they came out with the season was, if a couple players get COVID and the team has to cancel a few games, they were not going to reschedule them. You just miss out. But I don't think the NHL anticipated so many teams. There's like a handful, 5 or 6 teams that are down like half the game. So, it's not really fair. So they came out and they are going to reschedule the games. If you go on the NHL.com, they actually numbered the games, like game number 543 versus Minnesota and Anaheim is going to be played on this date just to make up these games.
And on top of that, the effect that the pauses and has on these teams, like the Wild were running second or third in the West. They're running 8th right now, 6-6. They have games to catch up, but I brought this up last week, which is I wonder what kind of effect this is going to have, right? You had 2 weeks off. The other teams are still playing, right? And
and you're in a rhythm. You're in a winning rhythm. You got the you got the confidence going. Players, especially that are scoring, like you just had Fiala starting to score some goals. Now he's got to come back and get his juice going again. Stuff like that. Guys that like Jordan Greenway having a lot of confidence, taking time off and having to find his confidence again. I mean, it is. You get on a streak, you get that. I mean, everybody talks about it in sports. Going on runs and stuff like that. putting that puck in the net, one or two times, and you have that juice, and you're feeling good and you're feeling confident. And then you take 2 weeks off, and then it's like starting the season over. So
I mean, the Sabres,
they bounce back.
Yeah.
The Sabres are in the same boat, right? Jack Eichel last year, we had a huge conversation. He was pissed and wanted out, right? So they brought in a bunch of guys, and they started off okay, but they're sitting 4-6. I guarantee that was not part of the plan when they started the year, right? I mean, so those types of pauses when you're really starting to find your swing, it's hard to recover from that. You might not do it this year, so. It changes.
Yes,
it's tough on everybody, but at the same time, those that just got hit from this COVID pause, they're fucked right now. They have a whole lot to catch up on, and it's not clear to me that they're going to be able to make up that ground.
Yeah, the whole COVID thing is screwing everything up. We have hockey. Let's be optimistic, I guess. We have hockey to watch. We're going to have playoffs. We're going to hoist the Stanley Cup. But is it really the full season? No. Let's get to the normal season here. Let's get this year over with and get back to the normal season here.
Yeah, there's some fans in the stands again. Get some excitement going in the ranks. When there's a fight, there's nobody there cheering them on. Come on now. When there's a goal scored, the Sellies aren't the same. It's just different. So I'm glad there's hockey on. It's definitely a bonus. We got that outdoor game coming on this week, so that's something different. Something we can watch that and have a little fun with that on Saturday and Sunday this week. And we're gonna have another big podcast next week. So stay tuned to Blue Line Hockey Club, like us on Facebook and Twitter and all the other social platforms that you follow. You can find our podcast on any podcast platform out there. So just go there if you want to listen to any of our past podcasts. We got 118 of them. So check us out on there.
I'll just plug Jason Livery next week. We've got Jason Livery, the Livery Art Studio. The guy does amazing goalie mass. He's going to have a little bit of a display ready for us next week. He does amazing work, and I'm curious. I got a ton of questions to see how many masks he does in a year. He seems to be pumping those out. So that'll be a cool interview. I'm looking forward to that. And like you said, if we can get Mac this weekend to tell us about Lake Tahoe, we'll have a couple of good podcasts being pumped out here in the next few weeks for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sounds good, boys. Good podcast with Mark Morris tonight, and glad to have him on the show. And until next time, keep your stick on the ice.
Tell ya.
Twito!
Oh, doctor.
Doctor. Meow.
Keep your head up. Tell ya.